communications and telephony, I think you're going to see a major impact to the LMR two-way radio industry. It will take a few years, but anyway. So,
aside from the sort of ongoing carrier costs that you mentioned, are there any reason, or are there any advantages in favor of cellular systems?
Are there any? I mean, is the cellular system favored over LMR systems?
I guess. I mean, is there a reason that someone would, given the choice, stick with their existing two-way system over push-to-talk, aside from the ongoing costs that you already mentioned?
No. That and maybe the simplicity of a radio where it's push-to-talk or lease-to-listen is very simplistic. But I think the number one thing is cost, right? It's the operational cost, is the OpEx side of things, right? The OpEx, if I have 100 users and they're $10 a piece, well, that adds up quick, right? Every month. Versus if I had a LMR system and I had a base station and it was paid for, and there were minimal costs, and then instead of $10 a month, it's maybe $1 a month if I aggregated that for the support of the system. Significant cost, but the downside is if I go off of my campus, I'll give you a for example. So Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, they had regular standard LMR type radios. They still do for their security primarily. But the entire hotel chain there in Vegas operated on a land mobile radio system. The problem is they expanded the resort area. They couldn't get coverage. The only way to get coverage is through push-to-talk over CIDR because, the commercial carriers had blanket coverage inside the casino, outside the casino, and they could put it into a bus and then pick up their patrons from the airport and bring them back and have complete coverage back and forth communication-wise. So it is making an impact, and I would say that would be the number one issue outside of OpEx cost is push-to-talk over CIDR from an LMR perspective.
Are there any other end markets that you would consider particularly susceptible to adopting push-to-talk?
Are there any technical challenges?
No, excuse me. Are there any other that you mentioned, the casinos as an example? I'd imagine for the same reason, maybe law enforcement would have a similar, could see a similar advantage in adopting a push-to-talk system. Are there any other end markets that come to mind that you would consider particularly like to adopt push-to-talk?
Mining, construction, the school systems are huge. So City of Chicago school system, Virginia, Harris County. Naming literally tens of thousands of school buses are now going to push-to-talk over CIDR versus LMR. One, because the old LMR systems they were on, they usually shared with public safety. Public safety now has freed up some talk groups. Now they don't have to have the dog catcher on there. They don't have to have the code enforcement officer. They don't have to have the school buses on our public safety system anymore. Now they can offload all those, and they basically are fully augmented now on a commercial CIDR system with push-to-talk over CIDR. And it frees up sort of the life-critical communications that the first responders use that aren't going to be replaced for years and years with a smartphone push-to-talk solution. Even with FirstNet adopted, you're not going to replace the LMR two-way radio in the hands of a police officer, not for a long, long time, many years.
Got it. And this might be a really basic question. When you're talking about push-to-talk systems as a competitive threat to two-way radio, are you strictly speaking talking about push-to-talk systems that are sort of take the form of an app on a smartphone, or are there sort of separate devices as well that could eventually compete against two-way radios?
No, I think the push-to-talk over CIDR is the big thing. It's becoming more around voice, and with push-to-talk over CIDR, you can interoperate now. You can have a gateway, IP gateway that connects to your existing narrowband two-way radio system. So, technology is kind of, yeah.
Got it. So smartphones the adoption of smartphones are really what drives this.
Correct.